Hi guys, Jim Deverman here. Going to give you some instructions on how to use your new TCAT Tommy tool. As you know, I've designed this tool to remove and replace the water pump shafts on our 800, 900, and 1000 Thundercat 3-cylinder 2-stroke Suzuki triples. First thing I want to talk about is the use of heat. We're going to add heat to this to aid in getting it to expand or remove it. The easiest and simple one is to go and grab a torch, but it's not my choice actually. It's very difficult to control the heat in this, even in the engine, and try to heat just the shaft without heating up the bearing too. I have done this in other times, and you can see from this shaft, it goes from being okay hot to overheated, and it turns blue pretty quickly. I wouldn't use this bearing again. That's damaged and will have to be replaced. So what I found, and I use a lot in my shop, is an electric heat gun. This one happens to be made by Wagner. It's a 1250 degree temperature gun. Very simple, easy to control, and it's plenty hot. So I'm going to come to that with this gun. And actually, first of all, I want to put a little bit of WD-40 on here. The WD is not for lubricating it, but it gives me how hot it is. As soon as it starts to smoke, that's when I stop the heating process. This takes less than a minute. I direct it down at the shaft, not the pump shaft. You pull it away and you can see we have a wisp of smoke on there. That's all the hotter that it needs to be. Next thing we're going to do is you have 3 spacers that comes with your kit. You're going to use the thickest one first. Slide that on. Take your tool and the long flange bolt. Take the breaker bar with the 10 millimeter socket on it, and we're going to make 3 revolutions. 1, 2, 3. Back it off. You're going to add in 1 more of your thin spacers. Back on again. And 8 revolutions this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take it off. The reason we have to do this in stages is because the threads inside of that pump shaft are very short. So we have to take it in very slow steps. With the 3rd spacer on there now, this will come out in about 3 turns. 1, 2, 3, and a little. It's going to be warm. Off it comes. There you go. It's all gone, all out. As long as I have this shaft, balance shaft, warm, I'm going to go right into the installation procedure, and part of that would be to heat this bearing up again to install the pump shaft. If you're going to change that bearing that you have on here, let's say that it was, that's the reason why you're tearing this down, now would be the time to take that off. You have accessibility to the shaft and pull that bearing. Again, you'd be able to use that heat gun. You could heat the bearing up a little bit and put it back on over the shaft. So if we're going to go on to the install side of this, you're going to take this your new tool, and you're going to take your brand new pump shaft, put the pieces together, and you're going to use the short flange headed bolt. Put this on, I'm going to snug this up in the vise here in a second. Take this back out. None of that is warm yet. Put this on in here, and I'm going to just take a wrench and tighten this up just a little bit. It doesn't have to be, all I'm doing is holding the tool to the bolt. So this now would have been ready, if you did this ahead of time, you could have put it in your freezer. The freezer is about 0 degrees as far as constricting this, and I have another little trick that I've learned to use, and I use an electronic duster. It's kind of like a Freon fluid inside of there, and it's very cold. So in the case for reinstall, if you're in a remote place, don't have a freezer close by, it isn't the dead of winter and it's 0 degrees outside, this works out really handy. I actually keep it on hand in my shop all the time to use it for different things, where anytime I have a press fit and I need some help. We're going to go back to our heat gun again. I want to put a little heat back in here. This is on the reassembly. Same thing, you don't want to overheat this, but you can certainly get it back to where it would smoke again. That's all the hot it needs to be. Now, if this didn't come out of your freezer, if it did, it's perfect. If it's not, you're going to use this fluid. You watch this, I actually tip the can upside down. You can see this starting to frost up on here. I did a little temperature test with a probe, and I got this down to about 10 or 15 degrees just using this spray duster. Now we'll take, I use a brass hammer. If you have one, use it. If you don't, I'm going to come back here to put the new piece in. That's snug in here. See how solid that gets when it gets down to the end? That's all you're waiting and listening for. It doesn't have to be any tighter than that. That depth is preset inside of the tool to put this at 40 millimeters, which is the factory Suzuki setting. Take it off, take it apart, and your shaft is now ready to go back into your engine. Thanks for watching.